Dan Burisch grew up in Linwood, California. As previously mentioned, he holds a bachelor's degree in biological sciences and psychology, as well as a PhD in microbiology and molecular genetics. Important to establish early on is that in 1973, when Dan was 8 years old, he had an abduction episode while playing catch with his grandfather at Mayboyer Park in Lakewood, California. The craft was chevron-shaped, and the episode included missing time of hours that he could not account for. Years later, Dan came to understand that he had been abducted by the occupants of a UFO and intellectually enhanced for a specific purpose related to his future work for the U.S. government. After this experience, Dan suddenly had an interest in the sciences, especially microscopy, and soon he was gifted his first microscope. Later, he would be taken under the wing of Dr. Jim Reynolds, the director of pathology from Long Beach Memorial Hospital in California, where he was taught the art and science of histology and medical microbiology. At age 15, Dan became the youngest member of the Los Angeles Microscopical Society. During this time, elements within the U.S. government began to take notice of him. The U.S. government, specifically individuals within the U.S. Navy, had been monitoring Dan's career due to his exceptional scientific aptitude from an early age. Now, this type of recruitment is not unusual, as even today, the Navy actively promotes STEM and GATE education to cultivate young talent for future career opportunities, particularly within military and defense sectors. Programs like the Office of Naval Research fund educational initiatives and research projects, often in collaboration with schools, universities, and scientific institutions. The government's interest was initially tentative, but noted his aptitude for recognizing and identifying patterns under magnification. During his last semester at UNLV, that's the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Dan was approached by 3 men who offered him employment in a secret biology-related program. This led to his involvement in top-secret budget operations and eventual work under Majestic at Groom Lake. For a short time, while in the program and also pursuing his PhD, partially funded with assistance from Dr. Edward Teller, Dan was required to maintain a cover job. Now, this practice is not unusual for covert assets and is similar to the recent testimony of Jake Barber, who also held a cover job while being trained for Red Team Special Forces operations. In Dan's case, he worked as a parole and probation officer for the state of Nevada, and occasionally he worked security at the Sahara, Fiesta, and Aladdin casinos. During this time, government agents would occasionally bring tissue samples of unknown origin to his office, along with a high-powered microscope for analysis. Dan's professors were informed that he was a student of special government interest. He received his specialized learning modules from the State University of New York and was occasionally flown there for advanced studies under military escort. He also completed his assignments and testing in Las Vegas. Dan successfully defended his dissertation and earned his doctorate in cellular biology in 1989. His professors from State University of New York were flown to Las Vegas to administer his final examinations. So how did I first discover this story? Well, I had been studying UFO phenomenon since 1989. And in 2012, after taking several years away from active research to focus on raising my family, I decided to use my lunch hour to revisit some of the more controversial cases from my past. As I explored, I came across the testimony from Bill Uhouse, an engineer from Los Alamos National Laboratory, who similarly claimed to have encountered a J-rod at that institution. I discovered that veteran Southern California researcher Bill Hamilton was the principal investigator of the Burisch story. He was highly respected by all in the UFO research community, known for his rigorous investigative approach, consistently grounded in the scientific method, characterized by thorough research, data-driven analysis, and meticulous attention to verifying supportive materials. Since 1990, after I first attended one of his first lectures, I made it a point to attend every talk he gave in Southern California. Bill granted me special permission to record his lectures, allowing me to archive at least 20 of his talks. He and his wife, Pamela, and I remained close until he relocated to Phoenix in 1997. He spoke about a fascinating document in 2000 when he spoke in Los Angeles that recently leaked, known as the Q94-109A, allegedly originating from someone named B.J. Wolf. It detailed a scientist's study of an extraterrestrial being, describing its biological composition and its connection to human DNA. Bill said that B.J. Wolf was in communication with one of the document's authors, a scientist directly involved in the study. This marked the first instance of Dan proactively leaking his story. But at the time in the year 2000, Bill did not know of the scientist's name. So now let's cut to 2012. I decided to revisit the controversial J-Rod story, despite the broader UFO research community having largely dismissed it as a hoax. But I was still unaware of my friend Bill's connection to the story. Diving in, I discovered a vast amount of material to study. For instance, I found up to 16 videos of Dan, articles written about the claims his claims by prominent researchers, radio interviews, and more. Therefore, I made a conscious decision to follow the story's unfolding from its inception to its conclusion. I began by watching the earliest video interview. The first interview of Dan was from September 2002. To my surprise, I instantly recognized Bill's voice asking questions of Dan, and also referencing a woman off camera he referred to as BJ. Again, it's now 2012, and at that moment everything clicked for me. I connected this detail to my earliest memory of Bill discussing the case back in 2000 and his liaison, BJ. Now I was energized to uncover everything I could about the case, being inspired by Bill's work. I also later discovered that approximately 3 weeks after the video was made, it came at a severe cost to Dan. Dan was brutally beaten, and his hand was deliberately broken as a warning. Original X-rays exist, documenting the fracture. He also sustained severe trauma to his face and rib cage. This would have been prior to being given the official orders to disclose. It's not clear if elements within Majestic were the culprits or another competing deep state faction. And by the way, this is Bill's book that chronicles all of the details from his research on the Dan Burisch case. Legendary multi-Emmy winning UFO investigator Linda Moulton Howe was also drawn to the case, contributing her research, especially in verifying Dan's academic credentials and testimony from interviews with Dan's parents, Doreen and John, who both recalled the time their son agreed to begin working on classified government projects. They confirmed that on many occasions, Dan was picked up in front of their home by military escorts at all hours of the day and night for transport to Area 51. Dan's mother once followed him and witnessed him boarding the Planet at the Janet terminal at McCarran Airport that flies staff to Area 51.